Vikram Sampath, I also want to ask you, many people say that there is a cultural renaissance that we are seeing in our country. When the Prime Minister takes special interest, whether it is the Kashi Vishwanath corridor, whether it is the Mahakal corridor, he goes to Kedarnath, Badrinath, brings back the grandeur of the religion that we have followed and the civilization that we have followed. Do you see this as a symbol of cultural renaissance, or is this a religious renaissance? And does it really, have anything to do with the questions that are raised about the head of the state being part of a secular government and who should not be seen as participating in some of these rituals? How do you respond to the debate on this?
Well, for one, Navika, I think this government and the Prime Minister, it's not just Hindu temples or Hindu shrines. There's been a Buddhist circuit that was done, a lot of tours around centers of Bhagwan Buddha's, places that were associated with him. The Sikh faith, Kartarpur Sahib corridor and all of that was done around that religion. So, I mean, these are faiths, Indic faiths that have originated from this land. If they are not celebrated and exalted in this land, where else will they be? They will not be done in the OIC nations. So, I don't see anything wrong in the fact that you can be the head of the government, but at the same time you also participate in events which highlight the civilizational glory of this country. And religious tourism, spiritual tourism is something that India can gain immensely from, and not only keep aside the economics and the monetary value of it. I think that sense of pride, that sense of civilizational renaissance about what we are after centuries of colonization, of slavery, the kind of amnesia that we've had about our own past, about our achievements, the sense of apologia that we feel about our achievements. We've been made to belittle them and all the time talk only about the defects and problems that we've had. In the wake of all that, I think it's extremely important that the leader of the country also arouses these sentiments in the common people of India, and I see absolutely nothing wrong in that.
Well, Vikram, I read your book and you talk about Rani Naiki Devi of Gujarat and how she was able to keep Muhammad Ghori at bay and prevent him from invading Gujarat, something his predecessor Ghazni had done and had even destroyed the Somnath temple. Now, this truly is a gem that you have unearthed, because our textbooks have never taught us about Rani Naiki Devi of Gujarat.
Yeah, I mean, imagine that a lady with an infant child, Mool Deva II, whom she had as her, whose regent she was, keeping her in her lap. She had the Battle of Kasarhada in 1178, where Ghori was destroyed so badly that he was so embarrassed to be destroyed, to be vanquished by a woman. He had thought Gujarat was a low-hanging fruit. There was a lady who was the regent queen and it could be overrun very easily. But he was in for a big shock, and so he never ever turned back to Gujarat. Several decades later, it was his slave Aibak who took the revenge and managed to annex Gujarat towards about 30 years later. But even contemporary, records, Navika, I was quite surprised that, the Jain accounts, the Sanskrit accounts of that time, they hardly mention Naiki Devi. Meru Tunga, who talks about her, I mean, that's also very condescending, saying that the Muslim ruler was so weak that even a woman could vanquish him. So not complimenting the lady for her courage or for her strategy, but saying that the opponent was so weak that even a lady could vanquish him. That is how disparagingly she's been, mentioned in even our own contemporary records. So it's a very, very sad commentary. And I think in this book, I've also tried to balance that equation, that where were all these women warriors? And if you see across the book, Navika, everybody, whether it was Naiki Devi, there was this Rudrama Devi of Warangal, all of these people, and later Ahilyabai Holkar, several centuries later, they were given education by their fathers. They were given training in military warfare, horse riding, all of that, Velu Nachiyar as well, fencing and all kinds of military pursuits. Contrary to the belief that in Bharat, women are all the time subjugated and so on, these were the brave women whose fathers and father-in-laws and others, they actually encouraged them to also participate in scholarly activities or even, in warfare. So Naiki Devi was one. She was a Goa Kadamba princess who was married into the Chalukya Solanki family of Gujarat and scripted history, which kind of changed the very course of Indian history, because had Ghori occupied Gujarat, the whole of Rajputana and southern Gujarat, that entire region would have fallen to him, and the history of India would have taken a different turn. So I think these warriors are what I'm talking about when I say, they've been unsung totally. And this book is just an attempt to bring those names into circulation at least. We may not know a whole lot about Naiki Devi's details, but at least we know the general, framework of her life and her main achievements. I think that would be a big task achieved indeed.
Well, clearly, whether these stories will make it to our curriculum is the biggest challenge, because right now, as they say, gumnaam hastiyan thi ye. Nobody knows their names and nobody knows their achievements. And while Rani Jhansi is well remembered, you spoke about Rudrama Devi of Warangal, who had a special place in history. She also led her forces into battle at a time when it was considered rare for women to be at the forefront of a military campaign. Tell us more about Rudrama Devi of Warangal.
Yeah, Rudrama is again a fascinating woman whose father, Ganpati Deva, he had, of the Kakatiya dynasty of Warangal, he had no sons, and so he groomed his daughter to be his successor, and quite ironically hid the gender of this girl from his nobles and ministers and so on. It was a secret pact. Only he and his minister and others knew that he had a girl. So it was always told, till of course she attained puberty, that she was a boy and she was being trained outside in military warfare. And much later she emerged as his successor, and that led to a lot of heartburn among the family itself and also with the neighboring kingdoms, who saw the Kakatiya dynasty now as a lame duck kingdom which could be easily conquered. But Rudrama never gave up, and she constantly fought battles all through her life to get rid of these elements who were out to sabotage her, largely from within the kingdom, within the family. She started the Karamu system of tributaries who were loyal to her, and that later led under the Vijayanagar Empire to the Naika system, which became very entrenched in different parts of southern India. And she was killed in battle, most probably. We don't know the actual causes of her death. She was killed in battle when she was 80 years old, and she was leading a battle against a usurper who was even till then trying to ensure that a woman was not at the helm. So I think what a courageous life, and what a pity that we know so little about people like this.
80-year-old still, going in for a battle. And we only remember Khoob Ladi Mardani, wo to Jhansi wali Rani thi, and not much about Rudrama Devi. Well, sad story of the way history has been presented to us.